Can you know your future? So in answer to this question, can you know your future? When I put this to people, most people say, no, you can't. You know, who has a magic crystal ball that can tell you everything that's going to happen? And that's what people are thinking, but that's not what I'm at. Then I ask another question. Where will you be in 100 years? At which point people suddenly realize, hey, guess what? I know something about my future. I'm not going to be here. And then I put the question to them again, but where will you be in 100 years? And then people answer, well, I'm going to be in a box in the ground, or maybe in an urn on the shelf. But that's it. You die and that's the end of it. How do you know? You were so sure that you couldn't know your future a few moments ago, and now you're absolutely sure of what's going to happen after you die. Where did that come from? Has someone come back to tell you that in the end, that's it? How do you know? The problem here is that to think about death, well, we don't think about it because it's such a difficult question to think about. And so we go into denial. We forget that it's going to happen. We deny it's going to happen. And when it comes to what's going to happen after death, well, that's even worse. So we absolutely deny that. The idea that we could come before an infinite, personal creator God who has spoken and who holds us accountable, that is just too much to bear. And so people just go into denial and say, it's just not going to happen. Really? How do you know? Has someone ever come back to tell you it's not going to happen? Well, you know what? Someone has come back to tell us that it is going to happen. And this indeed is proof that it's going to happen, is that he came back from the dead. And how do we deal with this problem, this difficult issue of judgment? Well, we're all guilty, let's face it. You know, if you or I come into judgment, we're going to have a hard time. It's not going to go very well because we're going to be found guilty. You know, all of us are guilty. That's a real problem. And so how do we deal with it? Well, the first thing is denial. It's not going to happen. The second thing people do is they become religious. Wow, you know, I gotta do all these different things, and maybe in the end, if I'm good enough, I might just scrape through. Too late, you're already guilty. It's not going to work. But there's an alternative, and that is you could hand it over to God and let God deal with it for you. Because God has actually arranged something in that department for you. But you have to get over this denial thing first. Look, there are some facts about your future you can know. You are going to die. Everyone knows that. Okay. Here's some other facts. You are guilty. If you come into judgment, which you will be found guilty. If it depends on how you've lived your life, you will be found guilty, and you will be sent to the lake of fire for all eternity. And you will spend all eternity conscious, awake, in torment, in agony, in the flames of hell, in darkness and alone, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, Jesus says. Why does he say this? Why would he say something like this? Because he wants you to avoid it. You don't need to go there. There's an escape plan. And Jesus is the master of the escape plan. Because Jesus came here for the purpose of rescuing you and me. You and I. He came, and instead of you and I getting punished, he stepped in and took our punishment for us. He took the judgment that we deserve on himself. He died on the cross. He endured the wrath of God. And then on the third day, he rose again and is alive today. On the cross, he pays the penalty for your rebellion and mine, for our treachery against God. He takes care of your guilt and mine. And if we turn to him, that guilt is gone. If we believe him, that is the condition. At one point, the Jews said to Jesus, "What must we do to do the works of God?" And Jesus said, "Believe in the one he has sent." This is the work of God. Believe in Jesus. So Jesus died to pay for your sin, your rebellion, your treachery, and mine. And he rose on the third day to credit you with his righteousness, with his goodness, so that God no longer sees you with the guilt and condemns you to hell, but he sees you without guilt and with the goodness of Jesus, and you are welcomed into his presence forever. That's good news. You don't want to go to hell. Not really. Stop being in denial. Wake up, smell the coffee, realize what's going on before it's too late. Let me tell you something about your future. You're going to make a choice. You're going to say yes to Jesus, or you're going to say no. If you say yes to Jesus, you'll be with him. If you say no, and if you don't say yes, you're saying no, you will spend eternity in the lake of fire, in agony and torment, where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. Don't go there. Turn to Jesus while you have the opportunity. So the last and final question is, what choice are you going to make?